let's talk about how this has all gone so horribly wrong, right? And it's, again, I started off saying I feel bad for Russell Davies because he's in a perfect storm right now of failure, right? It's an absolute perfect storm of failure. So let's start looking at this. It explains how this, this Doctor Who, which is really genuinely failing hard, right, came to be, right? It came to be with this interview. So this interview was with Collider, and it's been pulled down already, which...
Oh, I don't have a home.
So yeah, let's start from about here.
Battles to be fought and votes to be gained. You know, it's like I'm not... and I've been doing this. I've got to say, it's what you want from every lead actor in every drama, but when that's Doctor Who, you have a chance to push that to all the extremes. With Space, for me, a massive convergence of stars upon one project. I could not have been luckier. And I...
No, you are sadly deeply unlucky, right? To Russell Davies, he doesn't... Anyway, fine, let's get to where we...
You know, the situations demand the full range of emotions, and those two deliver hugely.
Honestly, I haven't seen a full range of emotions from Ncuti. I mean, again, I don't think he was as epically badly cast as Jodie, and I think he could have been a great Doctor, but like he's okay. I mean, that part of him, I think, is passable. I don't like his voice at all. I don't think it carries with it timbre or authority, but it's not like awful, right? Jodie Whittaker was awful. That being said, there's no other Doctor I would want to watch less at any given time, right? Yeah, that's where I am with him.
So
absolutely. As a queer person myself,
oh, who could tell that you're a queer person yourself? What a shock! See, this is the let's have him talk.
Seeing the show just keep leaning more into queer themes and everything, especially since the specials, has been super gratifying. I'm
glad it's been super gratifying for 3% of the population, right? I'm glad that you've been. But here's the thing: you thought it'd be everybody, right? You thought it'd be like you thought it was not, as we're going to hear.
Can you speak about just leaning into that more intentionally?
Yes, it's funny because, to be absolutely honest, it's almost not that deliberate. That's the life that I lead. And
yes, and that's the problem, right? So again, I wouldn't denigrate anyone for like it's a sin. I think it was his best thing he's ever done. And if you haven't seen it, boy, do I recommend that. It's brilliant, right? It's absolutely brilliant. But the gay lifestyle of the early 80s, as depicted in that first episode, is not something I would want for my children, right? In a straight or gay, it's not about the sexual orientation. It was about the devaluation of sex. And I think sex is something that is powerful and valuable and can be used for, I mean, it's also fun, right? But I think the devaluation of it, it's something that's really detrimental to society. And I think it's like, again, without denigrating anyone, I think it's like that lifestyle is presented in It's a Sin does devalue sex, right? And I think that's really a really terrible message to try and give to kids. Which I think is the message he's trying to give to kids.
And I've been doing this. I wrote a series called Queer as Folk in 1999 that broke down many barriers, and I'm never going to step back from that. No.
That was fine, Russell. That was super fine, right? Everything in its own place. Nobody minded Captain Jack, right? Captain Jack was awesome, but making the Doctor queer, as again, it's not gay. He's queer, and he's super queer, right? I think it's a massive failure.
And in fairness, no one's ever asked me to step back from that. And I just...
Why would you? I mean, it's your ISP, right? It's like, it's who you are.
I just think it doesn't even feel particularly queer to me. It just feels natural.
Exactly, Russell. I'm not saying you are... No, it's not natural for most people, right? What's natural for most people is to, like, marry and have kids, right? That's the norm. That's what normal people aspire to, right?
Is the world, and it's
no, it's not the world, Russell.
2024, and we're all embracing this. Twitter might kick off, and in dark little corners, people might argue, but that's not the real world. The real world is one of acceptance, and with battles to be fought and votes to be gained. You know, it's like I'm not naive to the problems that exist, but God, it's a more welcoming world in schools. You know, we now have people who can come out in schools and be happy and thrive, which when I...
Keep it going, Russell. This is not going to work out good.
It was that age was literally impossible. So that's got to be a better world. So I simply...
Really? So that you think that's the actual world right now? And again, your timing is epically awful, right? Just epically awful. So let's have a quick look at this. We're not going to watch the full clip, but
Education Secretary confirming today that there will be basically new rules for schools about sex education, nothing below the age of 9. Yes, you can talk about the birds and the bees and, you know, people aren't supposed to touch you in your private parts, things like that sort of stuff, but not actually explicit sex education before the age of 9. And at
Rusty Davis couldn't even conceive this was about to happen, right?
no point at any age talking about gender ideology in the way that's saying, like, well, yeah, you might be born in the wrong body, or you might be non-binary, and men can become women and women can become men, and things like that. That stuff is going to be banned in schools.
Right. It's over, right? He chose the exact millisecond to find out when this entire insanity was imploding. I mean, here, look at this. I think this is a great example of where we're at. Target to limit LGBT pride products to online and select stores after last summer's controversy. It's over, right, Russell? It's not the real world, right, mate? It's not the real world. And you know, I think, look, regardless of if you like this new era or not, right? And I know people like a lot of people like it, right? And there's lots of reasons to like it. But regardless or not, I think it's I think this has destroyed itself. It's only real. I mean, look at this. Like, okay, this is what they thought was going. This is like reality versus. This is the fantasy meeting reality. Next generation leaders shooting up with the new face. No, he's not, and he's wearing a dress. And stop. He's wearing a skirt. It's stupid. We're all done with this, right? That's not the future. You want to know what the future looks like? Future looks like that, baby. Edgar Wright talks to direct Sydney Sweeney-led Barbarella movie. Oh my God. Oh my God. What a fantastic fucking idea that is. Oh. But here's an indication of, I think, how badly this new era is doing. You have something like Star Trek Discovery, right? Which is admittedly cack. This is Pirate Bay. And we see, so you do a search for that. You have 3,543 seeds for that, right? So there seems to be reasonable amount of interest. And this is Star Trek Discovery, which has totally lost its way, right? And then you compare that, and again, I think you can always tell when something's doing badly when you can't pirate it, right? With Space Babies, 1,000, right? So Star Trek Discovery, it's going no. I don't think it's connecting with the public anyway. And I think it's because Russell just chose the exact wrong moment, right? The exact wrong moment without realizing his finger very much off the pole. Okay, so
yes.
So the question I want to address.
Yeah.
Like, you really dug the first 2 episodes, didn't you? It was
God, of Doctor Who.
Your experience for you, right?
Well, I think I said at the time I had such a fun early afternoon, early evening watching both of them. I really did.
Right. So, I just found it so woke, right? And you didn't find it woke at all.
Not woke. No, I mean, I've the culture behind the show hasn't changed. I'm well aware that the people who make this show are very woke and ideologically driven. And I'm aware of the place that the editorial position that they have, broadly speaking, but those particular episodes, no, I would argue that they weren't woke. No.
Okay, so I want to let's go with the instances where I found it was irredeemably woke. That really destroyed my any enjoyment of it. So the first one that really leaps to mind is the reference to a progressive left-wing view on any restrictions on abortion, right? So this is something I found. Yeah, here's the thing. I'm fine. I think in yesteryear when they would present arguments, it wasn't so really annoyingly simplistic. And they weren't straw man arguments. Like Malcolm Hughes never presented straw mans, right? This was and it was done in one line, right? If you the line was, what was it? So like they said they weren't allowed to stop the reproduction. Firstly, there was and I'm reading into this, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. There was a subtext that these birthing machines couldn't be turned off because of the evil Tory government, right? That kind of was the subtext that I got. But again, that one I could let go, right? Because
yeah. I mean, that's the voice of, again, that's nothing that Russell T Davies wouldn't have put in back in 2005, 2006.
He was taking the piss out of Tony Blair, right, with massive weapons of destruction. Right, it felt more even.
Well, I mean, the difference is that my point of consternation and why I don't support the Conservative Party is because they are completely interchangeable with Tony Blair's Labour government. They may wear a blue tie, but they're fairly left wing. The current Tory party.
Tony Blair's Labour government was more right wing than the Rishi Sunak's Conservative.
Perhaps
I really was like you didn't like.
It's a joke.
It's like they're all just waking up from this gender insanity right now. Go, oh my gosh, I didn't realise that you were teaching 5-year-olds how to go on Grindr. Right? You know, like yes, you did, and we all know it. Anyway, so the point is, the disclaimer I have for all of this is the fact that the BBC programs literally everything from this position of DEI. You switch on literally any BBC show, from the most innocuous 15-minute thing about restoring an antique right the way up to a huge international drama, and you get DEI content influence always popping up. I wouldn't say that's something we're never going to be on board with. I'm never going to hand wave it, but it's a fact of reality. If you turn up, turning on a BBC show and expecting not to see markers of that, it's kind of like turning on EastEnders and expecting there be no Cockneys there. You know, it's something you're not gonna get. Why watch EastEnders if you don't want to see some Cockneys? Why watch anything on the BBC when you're aware of their editorial position and the stuff that they're going to do? So when I say it's not woke, the BBC is, in all intents and purposes, woke. They have a charter, they have a criteria, they have these targets that they are trying to meet. So it's on me as to whether I watch it or not. But I think there's a difference between their editorial position and each individual component of a season or a series, like something like Doctor Who. So I'm sure that I could go through. Yeah, obviously there are things like, I noticed that the captain of those babies was a little black girl, not a little white boy. You know, you could fixate on that. But the thing is though, that's surface level stuff. It doesn't actually matter in the context of the story at all. They don't allude to it. They don't hang around it. It's just is. It's just there. So that's not wokeism at all to me. That's the kind of this is the difference between. And for years we've been saying this. Certainly I have. People like us in this space. We've never been against diversity. What we've objected to is forced diversity. And to me, what we're seeing is the difference now. The captain being a little black girl baby. That was, that felt like in universe storytelling. But okay, so there's two things that really pulled me out and destroyed my any chance of enjoying this episode. Was, again, you said they couldn't turn off the birthing machines, and then they deserted them to die, essentially, these babies. So Ruby has the line that they won't stop the babies being born, but they won't look after them after they're born, right? So that is a screaming straw man argument that's been screamed at Christians who are basically pro-life is are Christians. Now, my position is far less extreme than most Christians are like no abortion under most circumstances, right? I'm not that extreme at all. I still go with the 90s, Bill Clinton, safe, legal, and rare. I think that's a good place for a society to be at, right? But anyway, so there's this perception, right? There's a defamatory perception that the places in America where are restricting abortion rights are doing so out of stupidity and evil, and doing it essentially to control and control women and put them in their place, right? That's the and so there's all that baggage, right? Again, it's a straw man argument that doesn't really work at all, right? Essentially, it's like,
are you aware? You're probably not going to be aware of this, but in Britain, there is nowhere near the amount of conversation surrounding abortion in the media or in society as there is in America. Nowhere near. Because obviously in the States, you go from, as I understand it, because I don't know a great deal about American politics, as I understand it, you can go from state to state, and some of them have slightly nuanced laws on such matters as abortion. In Britain, it's not something that we especially talk about. It's something that was kind of the general position. The mindset was decided on it like 30, 40 years ago, and nobody really publicly questions it that much. I hadn't given the topic any real thought throughout most of my adult life. It is far more prevalent. I know a lot of fabulous Americans who I've got to know through the wonder of technology through doing this, who have very strong feelings about it on both sides. That's got me thinking about it some more. But in Britain, it is not a specifically hot button topic. And so when something like that is on screen, like all of this just go completely past me. I just thought it seemed like just a bit of dystopian framing for an amusing situation that got you to look at. I just didn't see it on this sort of level. And even now, when you're explaining it to me what you saw in it, I'm actually thinking, well, I'd actually look at it a slightly different way. And you're probably right. If Russell put that in, he probably is coming from that place. But the fact that it's not clear, the fact that I personally didn't notice, and I don't think anybody could have claimed to have been lectured about it doesn't break the spell. It does none of this break. You could argue it's a theme, it's a topic, it's an editorial seam that's underneath it. But the driving thrust of the story, the adventure storytelling, the escapism, that is what powers this show. That's what we've been asking for. We don't want to be lectured. We don't want this. We don't want that. We want respect the fan. All that stuff. I don't feel any of that. I don't feel any of that was fractured last week.
I couldn't escape because I know this issue very well. Right. Essentially, it's like this. Right. This is driven by the American argument. So the American argument, you have two extremely polar opposite views. You have the West Coast, the New York, the LA view, which is no restriction on abortion, even postpartum, right? There's literally you can have an abortion as a baby's coming out, right? There's no, and most people are not on board with that really. So you have you have the other states who are more Christian. They have a very different morality where they feel like life is precious, life is something that you can't just get rid of for community, and you are probably killing a baby.
I understand. I understand the two positions.
Yeah, but to present the pro-life position in a very dismissive way, which Russell Davis is clever enough, he could do that with a single line, and he did that, and he tapped into that whole seam of a disingenuous straw man defamation of a very central worldview to a lot of people, right?
But that's not the theme of the episode at all, though, is it?
No, it's not the theme. But it was like the needle being pulled off a record.
I mean, we do get a peek inside Russell's view, perhaps because I don't know. We get a view inside Russell's mind, perhaps, of where he could be coming from about a certain topic, but it doesn't really connect with the driving force of the storyline. I accept that it broke the spell for you and probably other people, but it didn't for me. It didn't for me. And I'm far from alone. You wouldn't believe the amount of people who've messaged me about this. People from all sides of the aisle, people from our side of the aisle who were afraid to speak, people who are afraid to admit that they enjoyed this. That's wrong. That shouldn't be happening. It's a TV show. We're not part of some grand campaign. Well, I certainly don't consider myself to be a culture warrior. I'm a podcaster and I talk about Doctor Who. I love the show and I am generally very generous in my attitude towards it. and how I receive the stuff, which is why I reacted so badly to the spite in which it was driven, and the stories were told by Chris Chibnall. It had this air, this tone of spite about it. It's like night and day compared to this stuff. Russell's voice is still Russell's voice is still unmistakable,
right?
But I don't feel there's anything remotely spiteful about any of this.
No, I mean, it's something very different, right? This time, I'm not sure if you heard in the interview, they pulled that down from Collider already, where he's talking about like, this is 2024, this is what everybody thinks, this is the worldview, and it's not. The bottom line is that the people have had enough of this.
No, Russell, right? and this is, and people seem to think because I enjoyed a few episodes of Doctor Who, that means that I'm some sort of that I'm completely of one-minded by this. Oh, excuse me, I apologise. 1 second. People think that I'm completely sort of single-minded about this. No, I think Russell T Davies is making an absolute tool of himself. I think he's desperately behind the times. I hate to say it, I do think he's past his best, completely ideologically captured by all of this, and thus intellectually compromised. However, did I enjoy myself in front of the telly for 45 minutes last Saturday?
That's not my question, right?
I did.
Absolutely.
And Russell's, and way back in the noughties, there were always little lines like that. They weren't so much the political. I'm not the most political of people, but there were lines and moments in his original era, which I love, which did make me go, oh, really? But they never spoiled the episode for me, and neither has this, certainly in episodes 1 and 2. And I was dreading the Devil's Cord. I was expecting to fucking hate that.
I don't understand how any... Like that was like, I mean, that was less woke than the first episode, in my opinion. I think it had a incredibly strong background radiation of woke, right? With it was written around Jinx Monsoon, and again,
it seems to have been.
You go back to 2008, right, and you see this clearly male person who's calling themselves as they, wearing like very sexualized makeup and heels, and you'd be like, what? That's it. But they made us get used to this shit over the last few years, right? So that wasn't as jarring as it really should be.
Again, the position that I'm in there is that I've spent a year stating over and over again that Jinx Monsoon should never have been cast in Doctor Who on principle, regardless of how talented they are. Never cast in this show on principle, shouldn't be speaking about it, shouldn't be anywhere near this brand. I've said that consistently for well over a year. I still feel that way. However, for my own sanity, as well as the fact that the conversation must move on, I do not spend my time making my content. I know there are other people that feel differently and behave differently, and they can do them, I do me. I prefer not week in, week out to just keep talking about the same thing. The fact is, Jinx Monsoon was cast. It's up to me whether I watch. Bear in mind, that's how I feel about Jinx Monsoon being cast a year ago. I've stated it over and over and over again. Here she is. It's on screen. It's my choice whether to watch or not. So, I've come to my position about the presence of that person. So therefore, it's kind of on me.
No, I disagree. I don't think it's on you, right? It's on the creators to produce something that a normative mainstream audience.
Well, when I say by on me, I mean as in the cases, it's up to me for me to decide whether that's a deal breaker for me enjoying it or not. I to be honest, I mean, I've got to the point now, and I think it was bailing on Star Trek Discovery that got me to this place. I don't hit play on something now unless I know that there's a 80% minimum chance that I'm going to have a good time. Doctor Who's
not that was developed as you, right?
Doctor Who's a bit of a special case because it's got a special place in my heart, as I know it does yours, and yours out there as well. Of course, it does yours too. So Doctor Who is slightly different, but that's the core principle of it. I knew Jinx Monsoon was going to be in it. I thought just take it at face value. Try to be as generous as you possibly can, and so maybe that's why I. Yeah, I mean, I felt the same way. I'd rather they cast a million other people, but they didn't. So, I don't want to spend any more of my life complaining about something that I can't change.
I don't think it's is it? Yeah, you're making a good point.
It is,
but am I complaining about it because I can't change it? No, you know what? I think I have the right to complain about it, right? I think This is something that's not. This is something that's public property.
I think we're right to revisit the material in light of the fact that we were speaking about it before and we hadn't seen it, and now we can speak about it again, having actually seen it. So it's worth revisiting now. Of course it is. But I think again, the conversation has moved on. If you're going to ask me, what did I think about Jinx Monsoon actually in the episode? That's a conversation I've never had, and obviously the conversation moves on. But if you want,
that's the next place I was going to ask you. Because I just found Jinx. I don't know if it's here. I just. Revolting, really, not revolting as in Syl, cool.
Yeah.
Revolting as in oh god, that's that's degenerate weirdo. Get me away from that, right? Just seemed like I got very gay rapist vibes of Jinx, right? And I was like, ew. So there's that going on. But then I've actually got less tolerance towards that person. When for a time you can sort of get used to people and accept them. I mean, I find, for example, what's her name? Yasmin Finney.
Yasmin Finney. I find that person generally a forgettable presence. Doesn't give any interviews that I've ever read. Has never said anything incendiary that I've ever seen. And so I tend to, they were in the show. I know they're coming back at some point. She's coming back, whatever. So they don't wind me up.
No.
but Jinx Monsoon, I feel actually far worse about her now after all this time.
I think it's them. But I don't want to get you in trouble. I think it's them, not her. Whatever.
Who cares?
But okay, so that going on, I felt the fantasy elements in this, the breaking the fourth wall and the fantasy elements, also was a major drag factor for me, right? I like the first break of the fourth wall, which I thought was very, very clever, where Jinx looks into camera and starts playing the Doctor Who music on the piano, and it goes into the titles. I thought that was really genuinely innovative and clever.
Yeah, I like that.
But I didn't like the representation of the notes. It just felt silly to me. It felt like very lightweight. It felt dumb, for want of a better word. And
the representation of the what? Sorry, the notes.
The notes when she was using her.
Oh yeah, I don't like that either. They did that before with something else quite recently, and I mean, obviously back in 2006, in Fear Her, that didn't work then. The charcoal, but they've done it since, and it never works. I think it's just, again, I see where it comes from. It's Russell T Davies' sort of fascination with Looney Tunes and that kind of stuff. But I don't think that we're there yet. I don't think it quite works. But it's the same with the talking babies thing. I love that idea, and that didn't break the spell for me either. But we all know, but we all know the technology isn't quite there. But
certainly wasn't for space babies.
But because it's fun, because it's kind of sweet, because it's amusing, but I think the stuff with the notes, obviously, it's meant to scare us. It's a harder sell.
Yeah. I got shit. By the way, you should know I got shit for in my comments for saying I didn't think I thought that Ncuti was better at being the Doctor than Jodie Whittaker by a long way, right?
Considerably. It's like a country mile.
I want to ask you, is there any Doctor you wouldn't rather see other than Ncuti Gatwa? Because me, he is like I would rather see literally anybody else, any other Doctor than
I was thinking about this last night.
Yeah.
And no, of course there isn't. But then again, it's been, for some reason, it's as if I felt that he kind of sleepwalked through Ruby Road a little. I feel that we haven't actually
in it that much, right? It was more about shooting Ruby.
Yeah. So I feel like I've only just met this Doctor, and so ask me at the end of the season, I may have a different answer. I
think that there's going to be very little development or growth with this Doctor. He seems to be Ncuti Gatwa is playing it as Ncuti Gatwa, and I think he's going to continue playing it as Ncuti Gatwa.
I think I suspect the character may not grow that much, but I think that's largely. I don't think Russell T Davies does that much to grow the character of the Doctor. I think he sets certain parameters which the actor can play with him. Because when David Tennant was doing it, and Simon Horton, you know, one of my best mates, Simon Horton, he said this to me a lot because he knows I love the 10th Doctor, certainly. He says, yeah, but the character never evolved the entire time that Tennant was doing it.
That's
and whilst I don't agree with him lock stock, I see what he means. I think that Russell sees the Doctor as a kind of as very much as a standard and almost unshiftable, whereas Moffat,
right?
Yeah. I think Moffat is a little more. I think Moffat's braver with the character.
Yeah. That's it. However, the Tennant years really had different eras. Like a later David Tennant story, like a post-Donna story, he was very weighted down, right? It was a very subtle difference, right? But and the earlier one was much more youthful. So I think it's probably more from Tennant's performance than it was from the writing, right. But I don't know, like. But
I'll state again what I stated the other day on my show, that I feel that my first instinct is that Ncuti Gatwa is not a natural fit for this part. In the same way that Matt Smith, absolutely a natural fit for the part. Tennant, Capaldi, God, you know, you couldn't have found an actor who was better suited to the role. Paul McGann too, even though he didn't know it. He's certainly the case. I'd say the same is true of Colin Baker as well. Despite my favourite Doctor wasn't necessarily a natural fit for the part, Peter Davison, and so I do think of Ncuti. I put him in that category of Ncuti in with somebody like Eccleston, somebody like Peter Davison, who isn't necessarily a natural. And see McCoy. McCoy is sort of like dead central on that because I think he was actually a natural fit. I think but only just. So I think
the interesting thing about McCoy is he was a natural fit, but they didn't realize it until they did a year of it.
Yes, that's
like,
it.
Oh my God, I'm perfect for this.
It was the momentum of it. I mean, that poor man. It would scare the life out of most people. It's only because he's barking mad that it didn't terrify the man.
Remember the Daleks when you see him walk out, right?
Yeah.
The first time with Ace, you're in a different universe.
Yeah, completely.
And it was awesome. By the way, the upscaling project, you got to get their remembrance of the Daleks is freaking awesome. Like the 4K remembrance, I'm just $3 a month. Yeah, I'm up for that. Although they're like 30 gig each, these stories, they're huge.
Yeah, I can't get it. I love seeing the stills from it, but I can't go there. Yeah, I'm happy with the Blu-rays for the time being.
You need a hard drive. Here, 1 second. Like. You need. I have this hard drive specifically for that reason, right?
I think that the people who claim and you know anybody who's claimed that Whittaker was better than Ncuti Gatwa is trying a little too hard.
No, you're insane, right?
To shoot this down.
That look, if somebody says that, you've got to check them for a head injury instantly. There's something wrong with you, right?
But I agree. He's not a natural fit for the part, and he's going to need to work at it to really.
He is living this blessed life where he's been told he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't think he's up for working, right? Let me show you this. I showed this.
Well, I can. Oh, God.
No, this is not of Ncuti Gatwa, right?
No,
but this is who they're appealing to. Now, this goes for a minute. It'll blow your mind, right? This will literally blow your mind.
I just got yelled at for asking a very reasonable question. So I'm applying to go somewhere, and I just wanted to know: are there accommodations for people who struggle with time blindness and being on time? You know, and then the person I was with interrupted and acted like I was asking something else, and then when we were done. They actually started yelling at me and saying that accommodations for time blindness doesn't exist, and if you struggle with being on time, you'll never be able to get a job. You know, provided you're trying your absolute best to be there. And then they're like, your stupid generation wants to destroy the workplace. And yeah, I think that a culture where workers are just cut off because they struggle with being on time, when there's other solutions that we can look to, I think that just anybody who thinks it's okay to just treat people like that, yeah, that culture needs to be dismantled.
Dear me, this is exactly what we've said.
Entitlement.
That is the generation with that not the right. And
we don't need to reboot the Rabbi, do we?
Yeah,
let's hope not.
Well, it's a fun.
Obviously, that's scary. That's probably a very young girl, probably about 18, 19. She's got a lot of growing up to do. And
right, but I feel that again, Ncuti getting all this limelight in Hollywood, being told he's the bestest ever. It's the absolute the worst thing you could do to develop.
Exactly. Your description of him as a purse puppy is brilliant. It's exactly what they've turned him into. I believe he's being sadly, tragically, maybe even, because obviously he's been playing the role in his world for 2 seasons now, tragically mismanaged, and being told and being to the point where, and because he's a bit empty-headed, you only have to listen to him speak for longer than about 30 seconds to realize there's not much going on upstairs. He's buying into it all, and
poor little. Okay, so Ncuti aside, right? Which again, Ncuti aside, I can live with, but like this breaking the fourth wall, which I was okay when Jinx did it in the beginning, but then Ncuti at the end winking to camera, and before they go into the music number, I hated that. Oh my God! That was like nails on a chalkboard. I absolutely hated every moment of that.
The reason why I didn't hate it, it's only because I was so relieved. I was expecting there to have been a song every 3 minutes during that.
Okay.
So by the time we get to it, and if that's all I've got to sit through, I was like, I was mopping my brow with relief. And anytime any character in any show breaks the fourth wall again, it makes me wince. I hate it when they did it in classic Doctor Who. I'm always uncomfortable when they do it in New Who. Capaldi did it a couple of. I just don't like that at all. Stylistically, how we want to term. But again, it's not. It doesn't spoil episodes. It doesn't spoil episodes for me. I think if you've had a really bad time for 45 minutes and you've got that wanker winking at you, it's the last thing that's going to make you feel better. But again, it's not a deal breaker for me. I came away from that episode up on the deal because I thought I was in for a really rough ride for 50 minutes, and what I got was
you normally pay more for that.
Absolutely.
A really rough ride for 20 minutes.
Pay extra.
Really, it's the exact wrong time in the cultural zeitgeist to do a queer Doctor Who, sadly for him. But when people are just like, enough with your weird fringe sexuality. Can we just see TV, please?
Yeah, I haven't changed my mind about any of those things. I think, although I was surprised that those episodes they had the energy that they did. I do believe that their general editorial position is desperately behind the times.
The energy was very good. I agree with you, but the energy was born on a confidence based on a delusion that that this was going to go down well, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the sort of. I mean, you could say he's got every reason to be confident because he's had considerable success with it before, and they courted him, they blew smoke up his arse, they pretty much let him do whatever he wanted with this brand this time. He got carte blanche.
That interview.
Yeah, so he's got every reason to feel as he did, but I don't. Yeah, I think. Let's wait. My advice with all this is wait and see. It's been going 2 episodes,
hey, look,
1 week.
Episode coming up in a couple of.
I wouldn't be writing. I wouldn't be writing any postmortems just yet. This all may well surprise us. We're 1 week in of a 7-week thing. I mean, the way I see it, why not open your heart to it a little bit more? Why not forget some of the noise and the nonsense and some of the baggage of this just for 6 or 7 weeks? If it gets to week 7 or 8 and you think, God, I really wish I'd have watched something else, or they've really solid this for me and I feel let down by this, or I feel foolish because I've watched this. You haven't really lost a great deal. You may enjoy it. That's how I look at it. It's only 6 or 7 weeks.
I really wanted to enjoy it. I really, really wanted to. But honestly, if it what I don't know if I'm using this channel as an excuse to watch it so I can see what's going on and report back, or
you're not.
But I think if I didn't have this channel, firstly I would have been I would have been out after Orphan 55, but I would have come back for the specials. I wouldn't go back for Boom. Based on what I probably would have made, I probably wouldn't have made it to the end of the Devil's Court if it wasn't if I didn't feel like I had to watch it. Right? It's
it hasn't helped. It hasn't helped in Britain that this, because to us we know that why this series is different from the last. We know what's happened behind the general person in the street, particularly as they haven't marketed it particularly that much or that well. To them, it's just the latest series of Doctor Who. It's been on forever. I think that Simon is absolutely right that to have a real seismic effect with this brand again, you probably do need to take it off for 3 or 4 years. And I mean totally off. No specials, no dicking around, to literally take it away. And then you may see a different result. But when something's been on for 2 decades, malaise does set in, even if it gets good. You see that kind of thing with soaps all the time. They go through purple patches. And obviously they're on permanently.
The purple patch we're in is based on this culture war, which has been not started by us, I feel, and has been raging for 7 years. And basically it's over right now. Russell's side has lost, even though they control all the institutions.
He'll be one of the very last people sort of stood up to his knees in the mud, not realising that it's over. He will.
Inscale says, "Really, what's wrong with Time in the Rani? I watched. I rewatched the count. It's like, well, I guess me too, but I don't know. The music, it's not one of my favorite stories. I mean, listen, the Rani's balls of death. Everybody loves the Rani's balls of death, and that was a real effect we were amazed about when we saw when it happened.
I still think it looks pretty smart whenever I rewatch it.
No, that's still a good effect. I agree with that. I like the CGI sky. I think I really like that look from that time. That's why I'm really enjoying the 4K version of Remembrance of the Daleks, which was really fun. Fine, I was going to preview Boom.
I've got to shoot, but thanks for having me on, mate. And I'll be previewing Boom later on as well. So if people aren't boomed out, come and see us, come and talk to us as well. But thanks for having us on, having me on again. Sorry, Rabbi. And I'll see you after your Sabbath and probably after another episode of Doctor Who.
Probably after Are you streaming Saturday night?
No. Oh God, no. No. We just did that for the anniversary because it was never say never, but that was just a thing for the anniversary. I never intended on doing it for every episode. But we'll see. Keep your notifications turned on, everybody. Thanks, mate. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.
There you go. Fine. So let's have a look at what we have coming up, right? God help us. Where is it? Doink. Boom. So where'd you go? Hang on, I'm looking for there you go. When is the new Doctor Who magazine? Is that next weekend? Let me just look at the date. Where is it? Where's the ad for coming next month? Here we go. Where'd it go? Do you have a date? May 23rd. Oh, next week, right? Next week. Cool. Okay. Well, the Doctor Who magazine is I would say it's cack. I know, if I'm being polite. Fine, let's have a look. So, in a nutshell, on an alien battlefield, the Doctor must hold his nerve or everyone dies. Well, that's kind of an interesting premise, right? Trouble is, it really, really rests on shooting up with shoulders. I don't think he's got it, right? I don't think he's got it. But I will see. This is why I like to talk to Dan. It's good to be white-pilled every now and again, right? And say, maybe it won't be so bad. Right, quote, unquote, Ruby, where are we? In the middle of a war. I was kind of hoping for a beach. What do you call this? Not a beach. Give it time. Everywhere's a beach eventually. I don't like that writing. I don't know. That sounds very shooting out well to me. Okay, every time somebody's asked me publicly if I'll come back to Doctor Who, I've said it would be an unfeasibly stupid career decision, and I suppose it is. Well, he says, but here I am. So yeah, I am surprised to see him come back, right? Because he was very, very firm on saying he's never walking back to Doctor Who again, which is a shame, right? Even though I feel he was, look, I think his time on Doctor Who was very draining, and I think having two huge successes at the same time, which was Sherlock and Doctor Who, probably hurt Doctor Who, especially the first couple of Capaldi years. Right, it's March 2023, and Stephen's on the set for the first time since hanging up this showrunner's satchel Rassilon in 2017. Ahead of us is alien vistas stretch out to the far horizon. That's no exaggeration. They've managed to build an actual horizon on a soundstage in Cardiff. Is it one of those the video backdrop ones? Okay. Because I honestly, I don't really like those so much. You saw, what was the one that was it Obi-Wan Kenobi that was all about the angry black woman Jedi hunter? I can't remember, but that was very much on one of those video backdrop thing. Man, that just seems small, right? So where are we up to? So that's no exaggeration. They managed to build a while our feet scuff the dirt of another world. One described by Russell Davies as the most dangerous world you can imagine. Oh, God, fuck off, Russell. Okay, have you not learned? Stop building things up, mate. Like wind it back in, right? Wind it back in a little bit. It would really, really, really help you. So Stephen Moffat is basically Michael Corleone of Doctor Who writers. Just when they thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Well, it's a bit more complicated than that, he explains. Russell emailed me the night before the announcement that he was taking over again, just filling me in on what he was doing, just as a mate, really. And constantly saying, if you could, if you would. And I thought, I don't even know if I got an idea anymore. Well, listen, somebody who's a professional ideas person, always has ideas, right? They always do. So look. Here, where's the famous picture of him standing on the mine, right? The set doesn't look there. One second. Let's see if I can find it. Doctor Who Boom. Look at images. Right, this one over here. Image address. Doink. So, I mean, look, I'm not being that fair, but this doesn't look that great a set to me. This looks very much like it's a set. And here's the thing. They kept talking about how much money they have to spend on this, and I'm not really seeing it, frankly. But we never did, was it? But I did. But then I did have an idea. I got into the habit of saying, Russell, well, we haven't done that, or we never did this properly. You know what you never did properly? And what a waste! The Cold War, the reintroduction of the Ice Warriors, really sad that wasn't better, right? It really needed a much better story to give a much more layered race that the Ice Warriors was, which is sad. Ice Warriors are way better on Big Finish, generally speaking. At which point was it? And I kept kicking things around until I sent him this idea, which he really liked. At which point I thought, well, why not? The story's big idea had its genesis in a Doctor Who tale from many decades ago. You'll know when you see it. Oh, okay. Again, fine. I wonder what it is. My guess is it's a Tom Baker story, right? Along with the old kiss to Stephen's own Doctor Who legacy. If there's a keyword that informed the script, he'd say suspense. Okay, I'm really going to work hard to go into this with an open mind to review it on Saturday, right? Really going to try and go into this open mind. Trying to say, like, maybe this one won't be gay shit, like everything else. Come back. There you go. Oddly enough, it's like we don't do very much on Doctor Who. We do adventure and fantasy and sci-fi, and sometimes it's a love story, but very often it's a comedy. But we don't actually do many suspense plots. Well, I would say that what's that one? That's that Chibnall one he did, which was really quite good. 42. right? I thought that was a good suspense one, right? And I think Heaven Sent was a suspense one because, boy, you cannot rewatch Heaven Sent, right? It is, when you watch it again, it's really boring because there's no suspense in it. And there's like no mystery to it. So like once you take that out, it's just like, and Capaldi's performance is fantastic, but without the suspense and mystery, it just implodes in its own way. This being, we don't do many suspense or suspense plots in a sense of this could go wrong at any time. This being Stephen Moffat script, of course, the Hitchcockian suspense is also seasoned with a dash of romance and a shard of heartbreak. Will it be gay romance and heartbreak? Probably. Right? It will probably be gay romance and heartbreak. Come back here. Fairly hefty, not to mention some fairly hefty philosophical ideas. So that makes me interested, right? That genuinely makes me interested because what I didn't like about the first two episodes, they were very dumb. I felt they were very dumb, made for very dumb people, right? So I would like it to be more intelligent. All wrapped up in the showrunner's trademark dazzling wordplay. I don't think that was Moffat's best feature. All right, I think he's just a solid writer. It's one of those that I'll be intrigued to see what Robert Holmes will be in today's TV landscape, right? Because essentially, you can't just be a writer; you've got to be a producer. Fine, where we are. So it's one of those that draws you in, makes you cry, makes you question. Executive producer Joel Collins tells Doctor Who magazine, Stephen's work is sometimes a bit dark, so what you get is a fantastic balance of a story like this within a more within some of the more playful episodes. Okay, I mean, man, those first two episodes were too playful, quite frankly. Boom also marks a significant first for Doctor Who, as it's the first in-camera visual effects technology to create the episode. The stunning alien landscape. Okay, fine. So it is one of the video wall backdrops. I don't like those. They seem, for all their expense, they just seem cheap now. Everything I see filmed on one of those feels like it's in a studio rather than outside. Where are we up to? Yeah, video effects. The technique used extensively in the Star Wars TV shows and the Batman, both shit, right? Don't want to compare yourself to those. Both of those are shit. The vast bank of LED screens known as the volume, plus live camera tracking projections to create an immersive real-time digital environment. Yeah, again, but I've seen it. Okay, it's not that great. One of the things we were excited to do with the slightly better resources than the past was explore other types of technology to tell stories that otherwise would have been much harder to tell. Again, I think this is a cul-de-sac of a direction to go in, right? I really think it's a mistake going in this direction. You know, Doctor Who, I don't know, the Matt Smith years look great to me, right? That was they just seem fine. I had no problem with that whatsoever. So this script is set on a world, so we don't have a world that doesn't exist. I understand that. So you need to create it. Normally, look. It looks to me like it would have been better in a quarry. I hate to say this. It looks like it would have been way better in a quarry. That's kind of what can I tell you? That's the DNA of Doctor Who. One of the things we're excited to do is so you need to create it, and a cost of taking a unit on location, even for a couple of days, is huge. So for something that's going to be 30 to 40% right, which means you need 60% visual effects to cover the rest. I'm bored reading this. When you pull that together, it's extraordinarily expensive. Well, again, you used to be able to make 12 episodes a year, and this looks like it's in a freaking quarry, okay? You used to be able to make 12 episodes a year, and Torchwood as well. So don't tell, oh, it's too expensive. Stop. To help realize the vision, Joel, production designer Phil Sims, turned to the VHX house Pixamodo, whose previous work on Martin Scorsese's Oscar-winning Hugo, House of the Dragon, very good, and Strange New Worlds, those effects were excellent. Even though I hated the second season, those effects were freaking excellent. Film bits, he had some initial doubts from the Star Beast. Joel has been keeping a keen eye where in-camera VHX visual effects might give us more bang for a buck, he says. And it was something that Julianne Robertson, the director, was very keen on. I had a natural reticence because it was untried technology. I mean, again, I guess I'll watch it and have a see. But again, honestly, all this is resting completely on shooting out with shoulders, like completely on his shoulders. And I don't think he's got it, right? So Russ, so we had a plan A and plan B. Plan B was to have a painted backing, which would have given us a very 60s vision of the sci-fi show. I would have loved that. But we always knew we needed that scale. And again, that's the thing I don't get with these video backdrops, right? These in-camera VFX, as they call them. It doesn't seem like scale. It just seems small to me. On the ones I've seen quite a lot of them. Look, one of the best uses of them, I think, was on Loki season 1, where you had like this village falling down, and you had Tom Hiddleston and the bland woman he was with running with it, right? And it only worked because Tom Hiddleston is such a great actor, right? They were running on the spot, and you could kind of tell. But he is a very good actor, and he could sell it. I don't think shooters are in that ballpark at all. We explored all available location options. A quarry, including an amazing copper quarry in Anglesey. Go to the one just outside London. For God's sake, just go to a quarry. Oh. But no, I mean, honestly, I feel like this is the difference between the Russian space program and the American space program, right? The American space program spent millions and millions of dollars creating the ballpoint pen because a pen wouldn't write in space. You needed the timescales. How are you doing, timescales? Because of gravity, a pen wouldn't write in space, so they developed the ballpoint pen. Russia didn't do that in their space program. You know what they did? They said, we use pencil, right? Use a pencil sometimes, right? Just like, I don't think this is helping you. I really don't think it's helping you. But none of them would have given us the final frame or in terms of texture or world build. Okay, you did it fine in 2008. Oh, it would barely scratch the surface. As a producer, I know the technology is going to give us something given in the future, and Phil knows he's going to get his vision out further. But says Joel, but ultimately, the story dictates the need. So this was the right story. A story, lest we forget, that sees Rusty Davis and Stephen Moffat working together again for the first time since 2008. I wonder what story was that? 2008 season. What's the must be what's the one? Donna Noble is not here. Donna Noble has been saved. What's that one? Silence in the Library. Must be Silence in the Library. It's quite an insane thing to sit with those two dynamic powerhouses of British television and watch them at work, smiles Joel. You just think, how lucky are we to be working with these people? Well, yes, you're lucky to be working with them, just wrong time. Wrong point in space and time. Get ready because the Dream Team is back with a boom. Okay. I'm very glad Dan came on because he really talked me into going to this with an open mind, which I'm really going to try and do. I think it's a good thing. If one could do it. But my name's Tzvi Lebetkin, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.